Three,
Well,
2, 1. We are on set.
when you get to understand the word toxic, what comes to your mind? Someone who is toxic or toxicity. What comes to your mind? My name is Otunjo the Great.
Yeah. So boundaries are actually important for a healthy relationship. A relationship that is healthy has to have boundaries. I mean, God is a good God. He's a gracious God, and He says, I am here for you. But He's created very clear boundaries, and that is what makes our relationship with God so good. My name is Rosasi, Wanduko Rosasi. I identify as he, him. I think that's it. I'm just a human being who's excited to be here.
Yes.
And maybe tell you about the friends I know who are very fake.
All right.
Know what to pick and what not, and let's correlate in as much as this toxicity. Let's be firm with our boundaries, and with that we'll be okay. I'm Lydia Gitange.
Yes.
An LLB finalist at Mount Kenya University.
You're a lawyer.
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, that's it about me.
So you'll trying to give us the ethical side of those toxic friends or anything related with that, and how we can sue them, right?
Yeah.
All right. Are you also inspiring to be a lawyer?
No. I manufacture batteries. That's what I do for a living.
Manufacture batteries.
Yeah.
Okay.
I work in an energy industry,
Okay.
where we manufacture batteries. So I will not be able to say any legal side of Fred's.
At least we have.
Yeah, she'll definitely help us on that.
Directors on the legal aspect of this particular topic. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Great Flamboyance talk show for today. And today we are talking about toxic people and boundaries. That is the topic that we'll be talking about today, and keep on following us on our social media platforms. They are tagged down there so that you can promote us and listen to the topics that we'll be discussing. With me are some two guests that we will look to unpack the unpackable as far as toxic and boundaries is concerned. Welcome, my friends.
Thank you.
And thank you for honoring this invitation. So we are talking about toxic and boundaries. Basically, we look at friends, toxic friends, and how maybe to set those kind of boundaries. When you get to understand the word toxic, what comes to your mind? Someone who is toxic or toxicity. What comes to your mind?
Well, thanks, and that's a very great question. Toxic, I think, is just something that's unpleasant, something that has adverse effect to something. If you're saying that this thing is toxic, that means it can destroy your well-being. Yeah. So to put that into context, then we are saying that you could have. It's easy for me to say the other guy, and maybe I'm a toxic. I'm a toxic human being to someone. So in that context, that means if I am toxic, or if someone's labeling me as a toxic human being, in essence, what they're saying is I am the source of an unpleasant life for them.
Yes.
Yeah, there are certain traits that I have that makes the relationship that we are having unsavory. That's what I understand from it.
Okay, what's your understanding on toxic?
Okay, to just add on what you said,
Okay.
a toxic person will make you feel uncomfortable in the relationship you have, either friendship or romantic relationship. In some way, they'll make you feel hurt in some way without you communicating it. Someone might be toxic, but they don't know. It's you to be clear and tell them what makes you uncomfortable. And as you said, obviously what they do, it's unpleasant and they cause some effect onto you.
All right. Just from just what you've just said, do you think someone can be toxic but he or she doesn't know?
Yes.
Without realizing it?
Yes. Okay, let me put an example. I might have toxic traits in the sense that I give backhanded compliments. Let's say you are here,
yes,
and you look smart, by the way. Yeah. Then I tell you, okay,
true, you're
kweli unakaa vizuri, you're kweli. Nikwambiaje, by the way unakaa vizuri, lakini ungekuwa mrefu kidogo ungekaa vizuri kabisa.
Sasa unasema
so, like I might be toxic in the sense that I give compliments, ama I tell you things that they are not good kwako, but maybe on my end si feel ni kama ni vibaya, like nimeisema tu kama jokes na nimeiacha hivyo. So I feel in some way we are all toxic, we have some toxic traits. It's until someone identifies them ndo utajua you are toxic in some way.
Again, just your point, you said that you say something to someone, then that person feels that it's not right for him or her. How would you determine that that person feels now whatever you've said is it's okay with me or not? How would you know or understand?
That's when we say communication. When the person comes to me and tells me, honestly, I felt bad when you said this and this, and you repeatedly do it after the person has told you and I feel uncomfortable with that. Now, when they fanya hivo, obviously that behavior will be unpleasant to the person. Now, in some way, it will hurt the person. That's when that's a toxic trait. You've been told, but you've not changed. Like unaendelea kuifanya na the person has communicated to you akakwambia I'm not okay with this and this.
So that's when you do it repeatedly is when it is toxic. But when you've done it for just once,
when you tell me na niache, I don't think
whether you umeacha or not,
nikiacha it will be toxic.
Okay. It could be.
It could be.
All right, my brother. Would you be a toxic person but you don't know in a situation or you don't realize that you are toxic? Can someone be in that kind of a situation?
Actually, thanks. I have never thought about it that way until she raises it. As I'm now consciously thinking about it, whether it's actually true that I could be toxic and I don't know.
Yes.
So what I'm thinking, because I'm now thinking about it right now, I think I could change. By the way, I could change my thoughts.
Okay.
Later.
No problem.
But right now, I'm thinking yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah. Hearing her speak, finding the topic even more complicated than I thought about. Because one side is, it is true that I could have these traits that I think I'm just genuinely projecting into someone else, but it's actually toxic. You understand? Maybe it's because how I was brought up, and we normalized this behavior. You understand? Because I mean, most of the behaviors are usually born from the environment that we lived in, our interactions way back. So I'm meeting someone from another culture or from another place, someplace else, and as we engage, I am just being myself. But it turns out that when you bring our relationship together, because it's no longer just myself, then this trait is a toxic one. You understand? So I am just being myself, and I am projecting this trait to this human being, and to her reality, I am toxic. To her reality, rather, or to the reality of the other person, could be a gent or a lady. To their reality, I am toxic. To my reality, I am not.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying yes and no.
Okay.
So then what she alluded to, communication then strikes in at that point. So this is me saying yes.
Yes.
That me saying no.
Okay.
Is this. And I'll take her example. So she probably says, I think that if you had been you're good in this, but if you had been this, you'd probably be better. Now that is someone who's genuinely concerned about you. Could be. You understand?
I understand.
Could be. Probably this guy's telling me, if you had done this, you'd be way, way better. They're just coming from a point of, I'm concerned about you as someone that I know, and I just want you to be better. Now, whether it's solicited or not, that's another question. So I would pick it as a toxic thing, but from the other person, it's not. So at the end, I think there's a lot of relativity to it in some fashions, but there are also those that are just purely and outright toxic. We don't have to talk about it. Like, we don't have to negotiate about it. You see, like if someone is insultive and they just want to, they don't want to change, we don't have to debate about it in that form. So in some ways, there are so many shades of gray. But in some ways, there's just also others that are purely black and white.
Just on the same thought of the idea or the concept, have you ever found yourself experience someone who is toxic in your life, and what is this example, so that for the benefit of my listener to understand, sometimes if we just define it by words, won't make them understand better. So have you ever experienced someone who is toxic in your life? Rather, maybe just conclude by saying, how did you deal with it?
I have. And especially in the workplace.
Yes.
I've been in the workplace for, I think, 6 years.
Yes.
6 years now. 6. Yeah. And so that's been seen mostly in that area, where you're having this boss who is toxic in a way. They're not providing an environment for us to, let's reason out, let's talk about this thing, let's see how we can move forward. There's someone who wants to shout at you. There's someone who, you don't have to really shout for your message to be known. You understand?
Some people say that some bosses, there's another way of strategy of ensuring that your staff or your employees keep on toes. So
no. I actually think that if someone came shouting at me, I would not listen to anything. And you don't have to shout to be firm.
Okay.
You can just say, you know what I'm saying is that this work has to be completed by today.
Yes.
I've heard you. You don't have to shout and so on. So to get to the point is that I have encountered that, and how I have tried to respond to. Partly, I think it's because of my own posture, like my nature is I am always very even. That's like my temperament.
Yes.
I'm always very even about things. I rarely get so high, very excited. I don't get very excited, and I also don't get very low. So that has helped me, be sane. If someone's acting in a toxic way, I'm very sane at them, sit down with them and say, you know what, this that you did and this that you did, and I do not appreciate this, and this is how I'd appreciate it. Let's have a conversation about it and ensure it doesn't happen again. So I'm usually very upfront at talking about it at the moment, and I think that's
I really get your point. And just for the benefit of someone who is suffering same issue in their workplace, you've said you will go there and you will make the manager or the person who is misbehaving in that particular manner. You sit down and you talk it. In some situations, people doesn't get that opportunity. You don't even know how to approach that person now to have a conversation. At what time is it prudent? Is it the exact time that person is making that loud noise, or at what time is the best? And what are you supposed to do before even that time, so that someone can understand how to deal with such situations?
I think it's a case by case.
Yes.
Yeah. There are times that because the people you're usually dealing with.
Yeah.
At the heat of the moment, there are people that are not going to get anything. So you want to allow them to do whatever they're doing, and you do your job. If it's in the workplace, go back. Assuming you've done a report, just giving a hypothetical example.
Yes.
You've done a report, and then this boss has taken your report and has thrown it away, and there's so many mistakes in here, so forth and so on. So what you can do is, because your boss, at the moment you're not going to reason out with them. So you go back and look at what they're saying, correct them, and then when they're in the cool, you have a conversation with them about the report. As you're having that conversation, you can now say, by the way, I felt a lot of disrespect respect when we were having, and not even in the workplace, even in the casual relationships with your friends. Your friend could throw a shade at you that you don't appreciate, and so you sit down with them and explain, by the way, there was this thing that you said, and so forth and so on. I also think it depends with the magnitude of the toxicity. There's one that you cannot bottle, and it's very okay to at the time just say no, I'm not going to allow you to be disrespectful, or I'm not going to allow you to project this regardless of your age or regardless of your position. It's important that we engage as human beings.
How about you? Have you ever encountered or experienced someone that you would love to share with us?
Okay, I've experienced it before, and I have two scenarios and how I dealt with them.
Okay.
So firstly, I have this friend whom whenever she could say things, I felt offended, and what I did is I'm outspoken.
He could say things like
how can I put it? Okay, we are this close. I usually advocate for platonic relationships, by the way. We could talk anyhowly. How can I put it? Okay, I don't like when someone makes jokes about maybe my height, my appearance, my skin, something of the sort. I usually say it clearly. So when the person did that, I'd already communicated that honestly I feel offended when you do this and this. The person knew it already. So when the person did it, I'm outspoken. I usually have these uncomfortable conversations. So I sat with the person and told her how I felt and all that, and in some way she agreed. She made me feel uncomfortable in some way, and in some way she knew she was toxic in some way, and we ended up reconciling as friends. And this different scenario, the person was so disrespectful in the sense that you couldn't be friends again. Kuna zile two boundaries that you set, when someone crosses them, that's it. So I made it clear that I'm not comfortable with this and this, and it's okay. We can't be friends again, but at least to set these boundaries and the respect will be mutual. Like, we don't have to talk again, but when you set your boundaries clear, you'll have to bend. When you have your boundaries clear, you don't have to bend some rules. For
your friend, you can't bend something.
There's some things, fine, you can't bend the rules because the person knew it.
Okay.
But
so do you cut off the relationship?
No, honestly, I usually extend grace to my friends the way I do extend to myself.
That's bending.
Yes.
That's bending the rules.
No, there's some things. It depends on what the person has done.
Okay.
That's why he said that situations varies. There's some things that you'll bend rules for. There are some you won't. You'll opt not to talk to the person again to maintain that coolness and respect. And there are some whom you could have this conversation. They'll give you a view, you'll give their view, and some points will come together. But I think we shouldn't create room for toxicity.
Okay. A little bit, let's switch gears a little bit, level about toxicity. About why would you think it is important to have boundaries in a healthy relationship that I believe you may have? Why is it important to have boundaries?
Actually, I think we're not leaving toxicity.
No, we're not.
It's a continuum.
We are just
because if you had clearly what she said is, even in the environments of toxicity, she says there are times when she has to say no, up out Peter.
Yeah, actually, I'm bringing it down. I just want us to build on the boundaries. Then now we link them together.
Nice. So it's very important to have boundaries, and the reason for that is, as human beings, we have this thing with familiarity. You understand?
Yes.
So like right now, maybe there's someone I'm not so much, or maybe let me take an example. We are not that like very, very close, you know, and so on. Yeah. So there's already a boundary, an unsaid boundary.
True.
Yeah. There's certain things you can't ask me. Maybe you're thinking in your head, this guy, how much money does he have in his M-Pesa, whether it's Fuliza. So like there's so many things.
Did you say 6 million? 6 million.
You see. But then as we continue to engage and become acquaintances and become friends and become all those things, the familiarity begins to create content, and then you start, thinking, there's certain things I can do. You can come maybe to my house and cook when I'm not around, and like you can do all those things.
Yeah.
So then at that point, it's important for us now to say, okay, fine, we know we are headed towards this and this side, so this has to be stopped and this has to continue. And I'm going to give you a personal story. When I became of age as a man, my dad gave me a lot of room. He became so dear. So dear. Remember, he was a typical kissy man back then, growing up. Yes, typical kissy man. Very typical. We would hear him come and we run from the house. Everyone anajipatia shughuli, go read your books or just leave the living room. But when I grew up, he opened up himself to me. And it is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Now he allowed me to debate with him and get to hear what he has to say. He became very vulnerable to me. This is like my late campus years. So he became very vulnerable. We would talk late night. I would wait for him to come from work, and we sit there, watch news, and then talk about manhood and so. Like we were just so nice.
Yeah.
And we would start even playing, like, then one time, now this is later on, my mom tells me that she started warning my dad, if you do not create boundaries with this young man, he will forget that you are his father. Understand? So let's get back to the story. So now my dad, because he had opened up a lot of space for me, I would argue so much with him,
Yes.
So he'd tell me this, if it's a philosophical debate or even political debate and so on. And I would, in that, because I am very invested in the conversation, I'd forget he's my father to the point where I'd like, when your mother manujui, let me tell you, until to the point where my dad also said it hit him that I gave this guy a lot of room without clear boundaries, to the point where he's forgetting that I am his father. So he had to sit me down and tell me, you know what, we had a very beautiful relationship, but the mistake that I did was I did not create boundaries. I could still be vulnerable, I could still be a good dad to you, but it's still important that I create boundaries. Because I did not create the boundaries, you are who you are today. You can look straight into my eyes and tell me whatever you want, which shouldn't happen. You understand?
Yes.
So boundaries are actually important for a healthy relationship. A relationship that is healthy has to have boundaries. I mean, God is a good God. He's a gracious God, and He says, I am here for you. But He's created very clear boundaries, and that is what makes our relationship with God so good.
Okay, when you have boundaries, it creates mutual respect. I'll know you feel comfortable when I do this, and you don't feel comfortable when I do this. And when you have those boundaries, you'll respect one another fully, and you wouldn't want to lose, obviously, that relationship that you have with the person, even if it's friendship or the romantic relationship. Another thing, boundaries will make the relationship that you have comfortable. The moment you speak up, most times when you have these uncomfortable conversations with people, that's when you'll have to know, you'll get deeper sense into this. So the moment you are both comfortable in that friendship, obviously, and you've created the boundaries, it will be okay. Another thing, well, I think those two.
you decided to keep that.
It will make the friendship comfortable and will both respect one another.
Now we are looking at now the toxicity and now setting boundaries. Don't you think that if you've decided to be toxic, whatsoever the boundary, still you'll be toxic? And or do you think that in as much as a boundary is set between you and your friend, now you won't be toxic? Is that one possible?
Okay, when a person tells you, let's say you do something and the person tells you that you are toxic and the person confronts you about it, that's one thing. I may put the boundaries that they're not okay with this. And the moment you don't do as the person told you, it makes the person feel uncomfortable. I'll obviously cut you off. I wouldn't tolerate the toxicity.
When you are cut what off? Someone comes and compliments you, oh, you look beautiful. I don't want to comment regarding with my physicality. I cut you off.
No, that's totally different. There's some things that you wouldn't put up with. There's some things that you're not comfortable with.
Yes.
Now you've already told the person. Now the person does it repeatedly. Obviously, they don't respect you. Now, if someone does not respect you, obviously they'll cross the boundaries that you've already created. Now, how many times will you keep on telling the person that I'm not okay with this and this? So the best thing to do is graciously cut them off if they've not put up with what you've said. I feel at some point that's the best thing.
Yeah, the best thing. And my brother, in a situation whereby now there's a boundary that you've set with your friend, will that one make that friend not to be toxic?
No, it will not. But it has some progress to it. I'm thinking about it in two ways. One is when you read the civil rights movement history, when the Civil Rights Act was passed, some of the white supremacists, they went to Martin Luther King and they said, you have passed this law that will desegregate America.
Yes.
Yeah. But that will not make us love you. You understand? Yes, we know you have decided that America is not going to be segregated anymore, but that will not make the whites love you. And Martin Luther King said to them, yeah, you're very right. Yes, this will not make you love us, but at least it will stop you from lynching me. Now, the point I'm trying to make is this: the boundaries that you create will not stop the person from acting, because they act because they want to. You understand?
Yes.
Or me being a toxic human being, if you create boundaries for me, I can still just break the boundaries and do whatever I want to. But because the boundaries are very clear known, that means that even the consequences for that are well set out. You get what I'm saying? So if I'm being toxic to you, if I am give me a toxic trait that you give me a toxic trait that give me a toxic trait.
Which one would I think of? Let's use your example. A situation whereby there is now that relationship that you have with maybe an elderly person, and now there's now a language that you've
my dad. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Now that language hata ujui hiyo kitu bwana, the way you talk.
Correct. Now that's a good example. So my dad has told me, he's created the boundary. He said, from this day onwards, we will have our normal debates. But you will say your points with respect. You're not going to throw your hands at me.
Now,
when I still can do that, by the way. Just because this has created a boundary, that does not stop me from doing that. Or in a relationship, if your partner says you're gaslighting me and I don't like it, yeah, I could still go on gaslighting her, if I want. But because she has created a boundary, I should be human enough. Or because my dad has created a boundary, I should be human enough to respect his preferences. Yeah, because that is what makes us human, by the way. Just the ability to listen and to be empathetic. Because there's a way my dad feels about my toxicity. That's just not so nice. If roles were reversed, I'd also feel that bad. Yeah, so that is what makes us human.
All right,
you understand?
Yes,
that we can be empathetic at what. So this boundary, therefore, tests my humanness. That this is something I should not cross. It's not going to stop me from acting in that way, but it should be able to awaken in me some humanity that I need to respect what this guy is saying.
All right. I just want to get something. If you are maybe in the same school of thought with my sister here, she said most of the part that there's sometimes how she deals with people, friends, and maybe it ends up to cutting them off.
Yeah.
Are you in the same school of thought?
No. I don't cut people off. Yeah, I don't cut people off. I think.
What do you do instead of cutting them off? Yeah. What do you do? What is it you do?
And that comes from my idea of my relations. Most of them are usually functional. First of all, I'm an introvert.
Okay.
Yeah. So I am particular about the relations that I have. It has to be functional. It has to serve an end. Okay. You understand? Like, I have to benefit something from you. You have to benefit something from me. We cannot just be friends for the sake of being friends. I don't believe in that. That leave it for, Tukio Toto, when we became friends just because we met in the same neighborhood.
I'm a little bit intrigued. Just on your point, you'd still come back to it.
Okay.
You said you're an introvert.
Yeah.
Are you an extrovert?
Well, it depends on where I am.
Just tell me, what do you think you are?
I'm an ambivert.
Okay, both. Yeah. When introverted and extroverted. I just wanted to know that because so that there's maybe a way an introverted person deals with the friends that toxic, and how an extroverted person also deals with. You see, most I will say she said she's vocal, out there, outspoken, more of traits of an extrovert, right? So more of maybe extroverted people tend to I'll just get another person and we'll still have a conversation and we'll be friends. And as compared to an introverted person, could that one
of course
have some difference as far as handling toxic friend is concerned?
Very accurate. And that's why I was saying that she said you could cut people off. I am less likely to, unless it's a severe case. It's a severe case. But because now my relations mostly are functional relations.
Yes.
Like, I have this friend because there's something onto it. If this person is, say, my boss, for example. I still depend on mentorship from this guy, for example, because he's way ahead of me.
True.
I mean, he's a manager or a CEO somewhere, and so I just don't like this behavior of him shouting at people. But there are so many other facets that I enjoy about him.
True.
Can I still tap into these other facets that I love about this guy? And try to align with this that I'm not. You understand?
Yes.
There's this friend that I have who's very toxic, but besides being toxic, they have so many other good traits that they have. Maybe they're good speakers, they're good communicators, or this and so on. I could still hear that side of them. Maybe that's again about me. I'm not tolerating, and I am very particular in telling them, I don't like your behavior of gaslighting. Just know this. And anytime you do that, because they're not just doing it to me, they're doing it to every other person that they meet. So I'm going to stop you right there where you're gaslighting people. You understand? But when we are going out and I'm learning something from you, I sure will. So maybe to say this, how I've seen my relations or my friendships die is usually not because they projected some traits, but rather because the function of the relationship started dwindling or fizzling out. Like we ficad to a point where we were not sharpening each other's minds, we were not being functional to each other. So we started just fizzling out slowly by slowly. But I think even as Christians, we should be focused more on trying to change the flaws of one another. By cutting them off, are we really changing them?
Do you still stand with cutting them off?
Yes. If I've extended grace to you and you still doing what you're doing, I prefer us not talking to maintain the mutual respect.
Really?
Yeah.
In a situation where this is your boss, will you leave that work and then?
Why would I work in a place that I'm always not looking forward to going there?
All right. Let me put it in this way now. Now, when you are in a relationship, sometimes there are people who find it very hard to set boundaries or to say no to toxic friends. What would you advise this kind of a person?
Okay.
Because not everyone can stand up and say, no, I don't want this, no.
I may not call them as people pleasers, but in some way...
You won't call them people pleasers, but you will call them...
I wouldn't say they're people pleasers because, well, we have different personalities. As I've said, I'm vocal. When you do wrong, I'll ultimately tell you are doing wrong. But there's this person who is not able to tell you so that they can maintain that relationship. The moment you harbor these emotions when someone wrongs you, you are bottling them up, and in some way it ends up affecting you. When you don't communicate, it ends up hurting you more than hurting the person you ought to tell. So I feel we might speaking up at least in as much as the relationship may not be okay, but you telling the person, I'm not okay with this and this, just communicate. I feel communication.
Let me give you an example. I think this example would be both relevant to us. We are all gone through education in one way or the other. There's a point where maybe in campus or in colleges that you've been staying with someone as a roommate, and at the beginning you had an agreement that we will be cost sharing this and this and this. It reaches a situation your roommate is doing nothing, and there is this individual that finds it hard to raise out that mimi atabaki peke yake aseme this thing is not doing great, blah blah blah. Akikuja namwambia anaingia huko anampatia chai. How would you help this kind of a person?
Okay. Firstly,
you can stick with the cutting them off as well. All right. Now on the example that we've just given out about friends, if you have a comment or an idea or helping a friend who finds it hard to say no in a toxic relationship, kindly you can put some comments so that we can assist our friends or our dear sisters outside here. As my brother was continuing saying about how he suffered these situations and how he learned the hard way. You were giving us an example because you found yourself a victim.
So like you have all these things in your head and you've prepared them. You've probably even gone to the mirror of your house and you have rehearsed. But then when these guys show up, you can't say anything. So then the environment changes, and so for me, what changed me was being thrown in the deep end.
Yes.
Where you have some work that you have to do, and it's up to you to bring up a team, put them this and that together. And so you're not going to allow people to just mess around with work and so on. So progressively I started having because it was like a flight of fail moment, make or break moment for me.
Yes.
You understand? So it was up to me to tell someone, you know what, and it starts slow. I appreciate what you're saying, I just happen to disagree. You can't just wake up one day and like, no, I'm not going to accept what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. So I appreciate what you're saying, but I happen to disagree. That's slightly easy to let it out. You get. I disagree with what you're saying, and this is what I'm saying. I think that for the last 5 or 6 days, I've been the one buying. If you're with your roommate in campus, I've been the one buying everything, and you bring your friends.
Yes.
It's sort of making me go broke. Yeah. So you're breaking what we had agreed on about cost sharing.
Yeah.
Are you then able to take through the coming 5 days? That's what I think. Progressively, then you now can be able to say, these are my non-negotiables. I'm not even going to talk about it anytime.
Yes.
It's just clear, you know it. Once you do it, you have passed what we talked about, the boundaries. Yeah. So it's a thing that I struggle with, and it is bad. It's honestly so bad. You could get to the point where you're actually tearing up because you don't have the courage to let your true self out. And that's one of the greatest bad things that can happen to you. To not have the courage to be your true self. So progressively, I was able to do that. And as that happens in the workplace, it then also sort of forms who I am, and it flows into non-workplace environments. So it's now easy for me to tell my friends. And the reason why I started by saying they cannot believe is because today they consider me as one of the most rigid human beings on earth. Because my non-negotiables are also very clear. If, for example, they are planning for sleepover somewhere, they'll be like, Rosasi will not show up. Let's not bother calling him, and so forth and so on. Yeah.
Do you think, my sister, in such situation, some of these friends, in a situation where they find it hard to say no, or to stand up and say that I don't need this and this and this, you're supposed to cut it off. Don't you think that maybe, I'm thinking, they feel that things also they are not doing right, so they don't, if they weigh out the negative things that they also do, the toxicity side of themselves, they find it, if I start this conversation, it's gonna turn back to me again. Don't you think that is maybe one of the reasons to why they find it hard to say no or stand up to this kind of toxicity?
I think it may be a reason, like they'll consider, like, if I tell you, Sasa, what's your name?
Naza. My name is Naza.
Okay. If I tell Naza about this, they might end up not talking to me. Ama, let's say you are roommates. Like, if I tell Naza that they are doing the wrong thing, they might end up telling me maybe nitoke, and at that time siko financially stable. Ama, it is a
I like the example.
Juu kama maybe analipa mingi, there's some things that utafia kumwambia cause kuna that thing that you are dependent on Naza. That's why I usually feel for you to have a mutual friendship, like, you don't have to be dependent on one another. Like, when you are independent in some way, in a letter that respects, now you'll be able to say this, like, ile nye uta feel offended, like, when I tell the person atani cut off because ati na dependingi kwa kionibi, itakuwa because alikosa kufanya the way I wanted na hivyo. I'm saying this because I know some people who are dependent on other people, in the sense that they, like, ni kama you in some way ndo unamfanya akue, like without you unafeel ni kama mimi siko.
Okay. All right, let's halt it for a little bit as we take a break and we sip a little juice that we have. My director, you said it's called juice or juice. People from Loyalland call it juice, but it's okay. Short while after the break. All right, welcome back. Remember, this is the Great Flamboyance talk show. Remember, yule mwenye ako nyuma ya kamera ni flamboyant city photographer Muluya Safiden photography. Ukiwa na kazi pale, uko na events, uko na shoot, uko na birthday, uko na rorashio, uko na nyombo, Safiden is here to serve you. Just contact him with the number that is written down here and atakufanyia kazi nzuri. Safiden photography, the flamboyant city photographer. All right, as we are heading towards concluding our conversation, I wanted to know that, my brother, do you think our environment and our community is could shape how we define toxicity to our friends or any other?
Yeah, I think so. And think about it this way.
Yeah.
You know, a boy who's been born in Afghanistan, what's their normalcy? Bombs,
yes,
and the sounds of gunshots. That's what they think is being normal. Transfer this young man to the coolest country on earth. Like, where are we? What's this thing? You understand? Because the environment that they've lived in, that is what, this guy you're calling city photographer, you know where he grew up? Uko chini uko. They don't even have network where it's coming from.
I thought you were going to say it doesn't even have a name.
No. That place is so backward. He has to.
You can give us a name.
He used to. No, I will not. He used to cross so many crocodile-infested rivers before he could get to school. So that was his reality.
Yes.
Then when he comes to Nairobi, he finds something else.
Yes.
So when he's explaining to a friend or his girlfriend in Nairobi that it's not a must that we eat supper or dinner, the girlfriend is shocked. What are you saying? But this is a guy who could only eat 1 meal in a day, for example. So when he says that in my family we will only be eating once in a day, the family will say this man is a toxic husband or a toxic father. Why you? But that is his reality. He thinks that is how life is actually lived. So my point is very much the environment shapes who we are. The environment shapes our behaviors. The environment shapes our inclinations, and it also creates these traits. And as I began by saying that there are certain traits that could be called toxic in relationship A.
Yes.
Go to relationship B. Project the same traits.
Yes.
It's not toxic. You understand?
Yes.
I'll give you an example. There's a guy we used to have serious banters. I'm telling you guys, serious banter. If you'd hear us talk, you'd be like, are these guys human beings? Like someone's going to your very existence until you begin questioning yourself. But like we were okay with that. And then if I remember this day, we were now doing the same banters in front of a few of our other friends. And they're like, guys, no. That is very disrespectful. You get what I'm saying? So it is important to have this thing that I call situational awareness. You also have to understand who am I with, what's our level of friendship, what's our boundaries, as she said. So this will therefore, you're not going to forever say, me, I come from this place, this is my environment, this is how I've been brought up. You have to listen to the other partners saying that, I understand this is where you're coming from, this is how you've been brought up, but no, this is not just your world, it's our world.
My sister, do you think environment and maybe culture that we are in could shape our thoughts or reason as far as toxicity is concerned?
Yes, environments, they shape us.
Yes.
I'll use an example of two kids. One who is raised in a home that experiences domestic violence or abusive environment in some way.
Yes.
Obviously, the child may end up being rowdy, aggressive when the person wants to be heard. But let's meet child B, who has been raised in an environment that is calm. They are given opportunity to speak up when something is affecting them. Their parents are listening. Obviously, these two people will have a difference, and when they'll be together, in some way it might bring uncomfortable situations, because this one is used to a calm and chill environment, and when raising an opinion, they know how to do it. But the other person who will be more aggressive, rowdy, like for them to be heard, they must be aggressive in some way. So obviously, when you look at this, the environments do shape us in some way, and that's why we ought to change in some way and not be rigid. Like, be free to change. Like, when I tell you that I'm not comfortable with this, and wewe umekuwa raised in an environment that you are comfortable with that.
Why are you pointing at me? Why are you pointing at me?
Sorry. So let's say maybe you are aggressive. Nah, that's how you tend to do most of their things.
Yes.
And I've told you I'm not okay with that.
Yeah.
So be free and be simple to change. Like, don't be rigid. In as much as you're comfortable with that, I'm not comfortable with that.
Yes.
And if you want us to have that mutual respect in the friendship, you'll have to bend those things that you feel the other person will be uncomfortable with. Yeah.
Okay. All right. In a span of 2 minutes or 1 minute, I would love you to, as you conclude, and give your final remarks on advice as far as friendship, relationship, and toxicity is concerned. What would you say about social media and toxicity? And then as you conclude as well on the same point.
Well, that's a great question. I think that social media has a lot of good. And the good is that such messages are able to go out there, and we, trying to tell guys that you can coexist, you can disagree without being disagreeable, you can respect one another, and so forth and so on. So that's the upside of social media in terms of toxicity is concerned. Or if someone has gone through a certain story and they're victims of toxicity, they're able to say it out, and the stories can be captured, and then through social media those stories can be crusaded all over, and it can give awareness to so many other people. So that's the goodness of it. But there's also the downside of it, which is if I am giving a wrong information about it, it also goes with the same accuracy, the same ferocity that the true news would go. And I see it, for example, in movies that have projected those behaviors, and it's easy for people to then soak in those attitudes, those traits, and take it as gospel truth through social media, for example. And so what it also has done is that it has, because we are now viewing all these things, we are now taking all these things, and we are not saying, hold up a minute, what are we consuming? what are we getting from these things? What are we seeing in this movie? Is it this real life? Is it something that is applicable to the society? And so that's a thing that I think we also have to put a lot of guardrails, and the church should be able to go through, like the church should be able to come up with equally good messages, and talk about these things more. If they're going to do more, I mean, I don't believe that movies are intrinsically bad. I don't think so. I just think, what kind of movie are you watching? What kind of content are you consuming from it? So the church is able to, or something else out there, or a society that is pro people living well and so on, can be able to curate a very nice movie about respect, about kindness, about boundaries, about not being toxic to one another, and letting it out there, and telling guys that we can coexist with each other in a good way. So social media then becomes a vehicle, just a vehicle. It depends with the driver. Are you a driver that wants to drive good messages of guys, we should create an environment that allows people to thrive? Or are you a driver that will use this social media vehicle to double down on, say, male hegemony, and saying that women don't have a voice, or that you can be toxic without consequences, and so on? So it depends with how we, the people, want to use social media. Is it for good or for bad?
All right.
Yeah.
In a span of 1 minute, what you correlate the social media and with it here, as you also conclude on Nathaniel?
Okay. It's through social media that somewhere will benefit from the conversation we've just had right now. And it's through social media that someone somewhere might end up taking bad things instead of taking the positive out of the topic that we've said. So it depends on a personal view, like know what to pick and what not. And let's correlate in as much as this toxicity. Let's be firm with our boundaries, and with that we'll be okay.
All right, that is all for today about toxic, setting boundaries, and many more. We could have talked about it, but because of time, we thank you very, very much, my brother and my sister, for expounding and elongating these things so that we can understand, give us ways on how we can tackle these things, because these are situations that we encounter each and every time. Thank you once more, and thank you for coming and honoring our visit. If we'll invite you again, please just honor to come. I believe we are not toxic, apart from the flamboyant.
Never be so sure.
That's why I said apart from my director. All right, thank you guys for coming. Thank you for listening up to this time. We tell you that this is the Great Flamboyant talk show, and we will unveil for you topics each and every day. Keep on writing comments, keep on telling us whom do you think you want us to bring, give us topic that you want us to discuss each and every time. Also follow us in our social media platforms, then it would be tagged right below the video. Till next time, guys, my name is Otunjo the Great.
Okay, take 3, action.
Yes.
Cut!